and Peterson Washira. He's the chair of the Clinical Workers Union. Gentlemen, welcome to JKL.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, look, you're all calling for the resignation of Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nakhumicha. Why, Dr. Davji? What is that going to solve?
I see she has shown consistent incompetency in doing her job. Because by the virtue that she openly and directly violates an existing collective bargaining agreement is a show of ignorance in her part. Because it is important that a collective bargaining agreement need to be honored. And whenever there's need to vary it, there has to be a discussion between the union and the employer. On this particular desk or bench on 22nd of November 2022, she said that interns were earning much, but she did not look at the work that they do. 16 months later, she has actually violated the collective bargaining agreement. So clearly, when you cannot do your job and people are dying in that process, therefore you don't fit for the job.
This CBA is 7 years old.
Yes.
Nothing has been done in 7 years. What makes you think something's going to be done now?
The CBA is 7 years old. We got CBA after 100 days strike. We don't have fun to go on strike. Going on strike means that you have tried all the ways to have the CBA implemented and nothing has worked. And therefore, in 2020, we tried to give a strike notice, and the government gave us a promise that they will sort it out. We proceeded to go to court. The court took 1 year and gave us a favorable judgment that the government, both the national government and the county government, were to implement the content of the CBA within 60 days from 28th October 2021. It is 623 days later, this CBA has not been implemented. Last year, we tried to give a strike notice in November 2022. The minister and the Council of Governors are sitting with us. We had a matrix to have it implemented. They ignored. In fact, a report of the same was just released after we started the strike. So ideally, we are forced by the government to join them in this particular strike because they have violated the CBA, they have refused to implement it, and we feel like there's no worker who is safe, not even only the doctors. I mean, by the time the government has audacity to act impuniously against the workers who are doctors now, there's nobody else with a CBA who can say is safe. So we have to protect it.
Yeah. Yes. Peterson Washira, the clinical doctors strike, you joined it 3 days ago. You're in day 3 now.
Yes.
And some critics are saying, you know what, you're just piggybacking on the backs of the medics. What do you say?
First, thank you for having me on the bench. This is my first time, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Secondly, let me say that we did not join the doctor strike. It is only that our strike fell due at this time. And it is so predictable. And that is why we don't only have the clinic officers on strike, we also have the medical laboratory officers on strike. Because we have a CBA cycle in this country as a policy of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that goes for 4 years. So after the 4th year, and they have made them uniform across the country, the 5th year becomes a negotiation year. And so it is so predictable that I can assure you that in 2027, you are going to have a repeat of the same scenario. But the reason as to why we have whatever we are having right now is because the government has created a tradition that they cannot offer anything without us having to go on strike. We have a government, we have an employer, let me call them employers because that is how they are recognized in law, that number one, do not value the employees. Number two, do not obey the agreements that we have. Because like ourselves, we have an agreement of 2021 that we signed by the then CS Mutahi Kagwe. It has not been honored up to date. And that is one of the things that we are pursuing. We have agreements in terms of conclusion of the CBAs that have also not been honored. And we also have a court order that was issued by the Labor Relations Court on 8th of November last year, calling the employers back to the table so that we can conclude the CBA process and register it in court, but they decided to ignore. So, and that is why I'm saying that we have an employer, and especially in the health sector, that is both the ministry and the Council of Governors, that is the counties, that do not seem to value their employees. But currently, I think the ministry has been swift, and I must acknowledge them, that we have been on the table. since we went on strike, and we are seeing reasonable progress. We are having negotiations led by the PS of the Public Health and Professional Standards, and we are really seeing progress. But what we are saying, we gave them a month before we went on strike. Why is it that we are only engaging after we have actually gone on that strike?
Gentlemen, hold that thought. I'm going to come back after I read a couple of stories and talk about the history of strikes. Dr. Atala, you know this. I think it was 2011 was the first strike.
That was 22, 94, 2011, 2013, 2017 now.
Come on. Are you trying to reinvent the wheel here? It's never worked since.
Yes.
Is it going to work now? Can it work?
It will work.
And also the 2.4 billion. I heard it was paid for the interns.
I'll give you the details about it.
Very good. Stand by. Dr. Davji Atala and Peterson Wainain Oshira, talking about this ongoing strike, folks. The KMPDU, the clinical workers, and soon Pius Nyakundi is going to join us with the Lab Workers Union. All on strike going forward. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? At Koinanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag is JKLIVE. Now, moving right along, the ODM party